Hi everyone, back again. Sorry about that distraction. Had the dogs barking non-stop. Okay, so we're going to come back to stretching hip flexors, but I just wanted to, because we've had a natural pause there, just return, just in case you find yourself distracted at that point and you wanted to pick up the video again here. So let's have a quick look at some static lunges. So I've taken one foot forwards, the other foot really far back. I'm not too narrow, and my goal is to drop that back knee down to touch the mat. So as you know, this is quite tough. We're looking for two 90-degree angles with the knees. So no, this front knee not coming past your ankle. Keeping the back upright. Again, if you've got problems with your knees, don't worry. Just go as low and as straighten those legs out properly in between as you can without any pain in the knee. But do try and bend both legs equally. No pitching forwards or backwards with the spine. If you need to, by all means, go next to a wall, hang on to a chair, dining room table, doesn't matter. But if you can, here's the full version. These are strong, they're hard work on the legs. Probably only need to do about 10 of them. And then just to finish off, I'm going to pause in the middle. My legs are bent just halfway, and then I'm really going to tuck the pelvis under, tilting that pubic bone forwards, and it should give you a wicked stretch here at the front of, for me, this is my right hip, the back foot hip. And I'm just going to hold that a moment there. I'm just going to add a little, push the shoulder blades away, keep the shoulders down, just going sort of in the opposite direction there. Then I'm just going to release the arms and lift my chest a little bit maybe, and I'm going to try and straighten out that back leg, but stay tucked under. I'm not trying to put my heel down at the back, and that should give you an even stronger stretch all around that groin area. And then let's change legs. So wide position, wide stance, not too narrow, at least hip width apart. The test for this can be, if you can get your knee all the way down to the floor, is to start here so that you know you've got your two 90-degree angles, and then you're coming up. Straight up and down in the middle, brush the back knee to the floor. Make sure hips and shoulders, your tissue box is absolutely square to your front, and then let's finish there. So I'm in a neutral pelvis here, neutral position. I'm going to tuck under, push that pubic bone forwards. And again, just holding one arm, one hand at the wrist, pushing back between my shoulder blades, and then maybe lifting the arms up, pinning the elbows back a little bit. It's a strong stretch here, just right there. And then pretty much staying in that same position, but straightening out that back leg. And breathe. Great job. Okay, so coming out of that, we've got a nice wide stance. If you've got your yoga mat out at home, almost as wide as the yoga mat, let's hinge forwards. Find that hamstring stretch. Think about shoulders, hands on top of the shoulders. Maybe make some circles with those elbows. Thinking about the muscles around the backs of the shoulder blades. Circling in both directions, a golf ball sized circle. And then let yourself hang from your waist and drop your hips from side to side. And it's a strong stretch, not a very big movement, but a strong stretch on the inside thighs. All around your groin. And then I'm going to take my toes out and maybe feet even wider. Keep the hands on the underneath your shoulders, and this time I'm swapping from side to side. Ooh, and if you haven't done anything for a little while, you will feel these stretches, but equally they feel nice. So going back to the 10 things to do every day, the hip flexor stretch, the one we just did in the lunge position is one of the 10 things to do every day. Because our hips get too tight and they're just weak and tight and just a bit rubbish really, because we spend too much time sitting, not using our legs in the way that we should be able to. Brilliant. From there we're going to come on to all fours. So one of the 10 things to do every day is just your bracing position in all fours. A fabulous exercise to do, as you already know, to support your back. So you could just curl the toes under, lift the knees off, hold it there and breathe. And this is a really nice way to set your torso and set your spine anyway. Let's do today, I'm going to move forward a little bit. So make sure your hands are underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips. Let's curl those toes under and hover the knees off. Then you're going to straighten one leg into the plank. Straighten the other leg into the plank. Bring the first knee back in, second knee back in, lower both knees. Knees off, straighten, straighten, first leg back in, second leg back in and lower. I'm having a little look at myself in the mirror here. There's no change in the shape of my back. In fact, my hips aren't even lifting and lowering once I've lifted those knees off. Everything is staying the same. Do an equal amount both sides. This is strong. So an alternative to this, maybe you can't curl those toes under, maybe you don't want to lift those knees off, is just bracing, extending the leg, lifting up, holding that there. Let's go for the opposite arm, holding that there. You could add movement to these. We're here, opposite arm and leg, lifting and lowering, keeping the back of the head and neck lifted all the time. Let's do one more of those each side. Extend and lift. Holding there. Remember this balance. If you really want to challenge yourself, pick that foot up and it's really strong. So you're just on your knee and your hand. How cool is that? And then last one on the other side, lifting up, holding it there. One side is always easier than the other. Try to keep that body still. Great job. As you know, that will get us all tensing those wrists, get those fingertips moving, circling the wrists, maybe holding onto your hands here, clasping your hands in this way, circling around, make a fist stretch out, fist stretch out. Good, as we're not doing an overly Pilates focused class today, let's just take my favourite ever abdominal exercise, which is always a good one, called the crisscross. So you could be here, you could be hugging this knee in and swapping legs that way. You could have your hands at the back of the head, keeping those elbows in nice and tight. Notice my upper body didn't change. From here or here, I'm not in a neutral pelvis. I've tucked under, I've scooped, I'm holding this all in really strong. And then I've also got my upper body up as much as I can. And then the crisscross part of it is adding the rotation. So right now I've keeping my elbows in close, opposite elbow to knee. You could challenge it more and open out. Try not to roll and lift. Roll and lift. That's way too much hard work. Stay up. You could challenge your over to one side, hold it here, lift and lower and lift and lower. Swap sides, we're here, lift and lower and lift and lower. Swap sides, let's do two more of those and lift and lower and lift. Keep those shoulder blades clear. Last set, we're here, opposite elbow to knee, lift and lower, keep that upper body nice and still and have a little relax there. Lots of variations on that one, but I'll leave that one with you today. So moving on to the bridge. Bridge, again, one of the 10 things to do every day. for strengthening the back line of the body. Let's first of all look at a straight bridge, and then we'll add a peeling bridge or an articulating one. So feet and knees hip width apart, your spine in its natural curves. Just allow yourself a moment or two to settle your spine. Think about the natural curves, tucking the chin in, lengthening the back of the neck, collarbone open. The two halves of your body either side of your spine equally weighted on the mat. Feet equally weighted, big toe joint, little toe joint, heels. Just allowing myself, my breath to come back a little bit as well here. And then, so the first one I'm going to do is a straight bridge. I'm going to push down through my feet, switch my buttocks on, lift my hips up really nice and high. Can't see myself in the mirror. Knees are going to go forwards, away from my head. I'm trying to get my knees over my ankles. And I'm really opening up the fronts of the hips again. Buttocks are switched on. Rib cage nice and relaxed. Watch that you're not here. Watch that you think about where you are on your shoulder blades. At the top of your shoulder blades, but relax. Collarbone relaxed. Draw that rib cage down. Get those hips up a little bit higher if you can. And then when we come down, you just relax the buttocks and come straight back down. So the natural curves of my spine have stayed exactly the same. No change, no change. I was obviously a bit of a hinge up at this upper body, but ignoring that for a moment. This should feel very different to your peeling bridge. Let's stay up there this time, just take a little bit of strength work. Bring your heels together, keep your toes where they were, knees are going out over the toes are out to the corner because you've brought your heels together. This means that the hips will open up a bit more, you should be able to get a tiny bit higher, and let's just take 10 squeezes of the heels together, switching on and switching off at the gluteal fold, just here. Should be feeling some nice work on the buttocks, back line of the body, buttocks, hamstrings, upper body's relaxed, no tension there, make sure the rib cage is drawing down. And then when you've done 10 or so, you could always do a few extra while you're here, why not? Bring those heels back in line with your toes, and let's take a reverse peel back down this time. So now I'm focusing on using the muscles in the front of the body to push the back of the body down in through the floor. One vertebrae at a time. It feels very different, feels quite luxurious, as someone, I think Elaine described it one day. And then we're going to peel, do some peeling ones all the way up and all the way back down again. So for the peeling ones, think about that marble. You're rolling that marble along the groove of your spine, all the way up to the top. Don't let it tip over the edge. Still those ribs connected down, but hips up nice and high. So the end position is exactly the same for both bridges. And then reverse peel down, collapsing those ribs. Try and replace every single vertebrae in the space it was before you went up. Remember to apply that pressure through the mat, and then reverse all the way back down. Let's do a couple more, add in the arms if you want to, and the breathing maybe, so breath out as you go up, breath in as the arms come over, leave the arms there, it's much more challenging. Feel that you feel that nice lengthening out of the spine. Reverse, roll back to neutral, and then bring the arms over. So that should be your breath in. Let's do two more. So we're breathing out, breath in, breath out, breath in. One more for luck. Out and up with the hips. Breath in, keep the rib cage relaxed, head relaxed. Breath out to roll back down, and breath in to release. Good job. That is our bridge. Side lying. So in a straight line, you'll remember on your list of 10 things to do, there's a seated thing where you're sweeping the leg in and out. We're going to just replicate that a little bit by lifting this top leg up, and then you're just going to bring the underneath leg up to join it and lower. So we're working the inside thighs, we're working the side, one half of your pelvic floor. lifting up and lowering. I'm trying to lengthen, whoopsie, the whole body. I'm trying to keep my hips stacked, my waist lifted away. And then after about 10, a couple more maybe, I'm going to hold my legs up. I'm going to turn them out from inside the hip socket, and I'm just going to take some scissors forwards and backwards. I want my pelvis to stay still. Remember, this is one of those ones, my straight line is here. It's very easy to do everything in front of your straight line. Make sure that the both legs, the underneath leg is tougher. Make sure it goes back past your midline. So not too big a split of the legs at the front if you can. A little bit like when we were doing the cycling at the warm-up. Try and keep the pelvis fairly still. Hips stacked, shoulders stacked, waist lifted, ribcage connected. It is all going on. Brush those heels past each other. Wonderful. You could just roll over to face the back, or you could sit yourself up and twiddle around the other way. So, in this nice straight line, lifting the top leg up. Make sure hips are stacked, underneath waist is lifted. So we're just keeping the top leg still, the underneath leg is lifting up and lowering. Trying not to have this shift in your waist each time you lift the leg. Almost hovering this ear off of this arm here, because I'm trying to lengthen out through the crown of my head. One more, and then I'm going to hold the legs at that height, turn them out, and then scissor front to back, brushing my heels past each other each time. Keeping the feet just softly pointed. Here I'm trying to balance on my side. I'm just using my fingertips for a little bit of assistance. Making sure that pelvis stays still. If you take your hand away completely, it's much more challenging. No tipping and tilting of the pelvis. Keep it still. That underneath leg going back and staying straight is your challenge here. It's really quite tough. Wonderful. From there, I'm going to roll onto my front for 3 more things. So the first one is our dart. So let's just do the dart for at both ends, if you like. So we've got big toes together, heels dropped out to the side, arms at the side, shoulders rounded forward. The tip of your nose is just going to hover off the floor. So this movement in itself, holding your head, just hovering your head above the floor, is the same as when we had our hands at the back of our head and we were pushing the head into the hands. You're just working in a slightly different way against gravity here, but it's the same, does the same job. And it's really a good thing to do. So holding that head there, we're just going to take shoulder tips up and down a couple of times. Just the shoulder on its own, the front of that shoulder, so that your collarbone comes into a nice horizontal line. Then let's lift the arms up. Now this time let's join in with the lower part of the body. Switch the buttocks on, turn your legs out in your hip socket. Heels are together, toes are apart but on the floor. Then I'm going to rotate my arms, opening up those shoulder tips even more, lifting the back. As I lift the back, I'm going to open the legs out a little bit, so they're sort of hip width apart. Reaching fingertips down towards the floor. This is hard work. I've still got my lower, pretty much my last rib at the front on the mat, holding that there, keeping the chin tucked in so that you keep the window open at the back of your neck. Reversing everything, feet together, relax the legs, relax everything, let the shoulders collapse round back into Quasimodo position. Let's go again. So head only, just hovering, shoulder tips, lift the arms, turn the legs out as you rotate the arms out. As you rotate the arms out, lift the back, Open the legs. You might be able to go a little bit higher this time. Keep that breathing nice and even, holding it there. Let's just take some circles inwards, working those muscles around the shoulder blades, upper back stability, and then have a little collapse. And then we're going to come up into one of the 10 things to do every day, which is our Sphinx. So legs are hip width apart, bringing your hands in here, your elbows underneath your shoulders, and have that sense of, maybe put your hands flat on your mat, have that sense of sliding the hands back, the elbows back along the mat, trying to almost pull your chest through and lift into your upper back. So again, as we were standing, we had the hands at the back of the head, we were taking our chest lift just on its own at the beginning. That's the same movement. I'm trying to fold over from here. It's much harder. Make sure that you're supporting your lower back by drawing your belly button in. Pushing the pubic bone into the mat a little bit maybe. Holding it here. This is called the Sphinx. And then have a little collapse and a little relax. So another thing to do here, I've just thought of, is having your hands underneath your elbows, exactly in the same position. Just let the rib cage, the box of your rib cage, drop down towards the mat and then lift up again. Drop down towards the mat and lift up again. So it's like your rib cage is a lift, your arms from your elbow to your shoulder is the lift shaft. The rib cage is collapsing down, it's at the bottom of the lift, and then you're going up to the top floor. But the movement, the muscles to go up to the top floor and to hold it there, those are the important ones. Let's just hold that one more time. Now let's slide those elbows back in a little bit. Try and lift a little bit more the front of your chest, like you're trying to pull this part through. Keep the chin tucked in. And well done. So you will absolutely, I'm fairly certain, want to stretch out that back now. So let's go big toes together, knees nice and wide, hands on the floor, go from side to side. We've come to my favourite part of the class, which is having a good old wiggle about. So take some circles. Vertical spine circles, some horizontal spine circles. Make sure you're spreading the fingertips far apart, fingers and thumbs far apart. Just think about that a moment. And then the last one, the last movement that we're going to do today is in your 10 things to do every day, which is a seated spinal rotation. And let's use the length of our mat as we sometimes quite often do in class. In fact, I'm going to come into the middle of my yoga mat, and I'm just going to roll onto one hip and then over to the other side. I'm going to come back onto my knees, roll onto one hip, come on the other side. So I'm rolling through from my knee to my hip, and sort of I'm facing the back wall actually, and then going the other way, keeping my feet together. So if I do it this way. So actually this might be easier for me to do it this way with you. So I'm coming down here, I'm on my hip, I'm facing the opposite direction, feet are together, I'm just going to take the knees over to one side, come back onto my knees, bring my feet together, roll the feet from side to side, have a little go like that. So we're here, and as always, just play about a bit with it. You don't have to restrict yourself to your yoga mat once you've got the general idea. Now I just want to finish off with this one. So yeah, you probably need to watch me and then, or maybe start facing the other way. Start facing away from the camera and then you can see me. So I'm just moving on with this movement a little bit. I'm getting to the end of my yoga mat. I'm then bringing this leg across, taking hold of that with the opposite hand, placing this hand behind me, and here's my seated spinal rotation, which is also quite a nice stretch on this hip. And then just rolling over to the other side. Don't get too caught up in this position, and don't worry about it if it's not going clearly for you to get there. I'll just do it the other way around in a moment. So opposite hand to knee, this leg is relaxed, this hand is behind your spine so that it can help you sit up. So if I do this the way I started doing it, so from all fours, coming down onto my thigh, rolling over, and then the furthest leg comes across, and then I'm here, and then coming back onto all fours, rolling across and over to here. Back onto all fours, stepping forwards. Here's our wonderful lunge to get up. Absolute piece of cake, and we are done. Thank you so much for joining me.